Part 25. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 241. Seeing the flying fireball, Wei Miu's eyes suddenly widened, a look of horror appeared on her face, and she shouted, "Sister Qin, don't." Of course Xiaopinggan would not let the fireball hit his head. Just when the fireball flew to Xiaopinggan and was about to hit Xiaopinggan's head, Xiaopinggan just turned his head and did not see any movement on his part. A small water shield appeared in the air. The flying fireball hit the water shield, and the water shield changed, from a shield shape to a spherical shape, and suddenly wrapped the fireball. There was no explosion or fluctuation, just a gentle chi sound in the air. Like a red-hot needle falling into the water, the fireball and the water ball disappeared at the same time, and everything disappeared, as if nothing had happened. The woman who cast the fireball technique was shocked. Of course she knew that her fireball technique would not kill anyone, but she could use the water summoning technique to annihilate the fireball without causing an explosion. The flames and water vapor of the fireball did not escape at all. The water shield, there was also a deformation in the middle from the shield shape to the spherical shape. This was the first time she had seen such a perfect shape without any fireworks. Master, absolute master. A thought flashed through the woman's mind, but didn't Wei Miu say that the scumbag who was pestering her had just become a summoner? Even if she could master some water summoning spells, her control of the spells would not be so precise and subtle. Xiaopinggan looked at the woman with long red hair, wearing a leather windbreaker, with a hot figure, but her lips were slightly thicker, but she looked sexier, and her whole body had some exotic charm, and said calmly, "Girl, if you cast fireball on someone so indiscriminately, someone might be killed. Sister Qin, he is my friend, not that man." Wei Miu patted her chest nervously and explained quickly. The red-haired woman was stared at by Xiaopinggan, and she felt a little guilty, but she looked nonchalant on the surface and shrugged, "Are you mistaken? Ah, I'm sorry, you are a grown man and you haven't lost any hair, so you won't be like this. You must be stingy. By the way, your water summoning spell is pretty good. Who did you learn it from?" Self-taught, Xiaopinggan smiled slightly and forgot about this trivial matter. The red-haired woman came over, glanced at Xiaopinggan, and then at Wei Miu, with an "I understand" expression on her face, and said directly to Xiaopinggan, "The inspection office is an important place, and the judicial army handles cases. This is a place where no one can enter. You are too brave. You actually dare to come in here to look for Miu. If you don't do it next time, leave quickly. Old man Luo really dared to let you in. I didn't expect him to be so old. And the potential to be a matchmaker." Wei Miu secretly glanced at Xiaopinggan with a red face. Xiaopinggan looked helplessly at the red-haired oolong girl and didn't say anything. He just took out his inspector's token and said, "I think you misunderstood. I came here to take up my post. The concierge here is very dedicated. What is your name?" "Inspector, Mr. Inspector." The red-haired woman looked at the token that Xiaopinggan took out, dumbfounded, and immediately stood at attention, breaking out in a cold sweat. Wei Miu also widened her eyes. She had no idea that Xiaopinggan had such a high status. When Xiaopinggan saved her last time, she only thought that Xiaopinggan was just an ordinary person. "Inspector, oh my god." Wei Miu covered her mouth with her hands in surprise. "Master Inspector, my name is Huazikan." No matter how careless she was, the red-haired woman at this time wanted to find a crack in the ground to crawl in. As soon as she met the Master Inspector, within a moment, he made two mistakes. First, he threw a fireball at the head of the inspector, and then he misunderstood the inspector and came to Wei Miu. What a tragedy! The inspector will never wear small shoes for himself in the future. The same goes for Miu. Why didn't she say that she knew such a big shot before? The red-haired woman was extremely worried. "Miu, Take me to the inspector's office, Huazikan, right? Call the people who are still in the inspector's office, let's get to know each other. A few minutes later, Xiaopingan saw other people from the Adjudication Army's Donggang inspection office in the inspector's office. Including Wei Miu and Huazikan, there are a total of 42 people still in the supervision office at this moment. Among these 42 people, there are only 18 non-summoners like Wei Miu, and the other 24 everyone is the summoner of the Judgment Army. 42 people of all kinds, men and women, looked at Xiaopingan with different eyes. One or two looks were even a little presumptuous and unconvinced, because Xiaopingan was too young. After Xiaopingan took out his inspector's token and showed it to everyone in public, those wild eyes became slightly restrained. My name is Xiaopingan, the new inspector of the Adjudication Army's Donggang Inspection Office. I'm new here. Please give me your advice in the future. Xiaopingan smiled and glanced at everyone's faces. Where, sir, you are young and promising. Please give us your guidance in the future. I believe that under the leadership of your lord, the Donggang Inspection Office will definitely get better and prosper. A man in his 40s was among the crowd. The fat bald man jumped out with a smile and flattered Xiaopingan. When this guy was flattering him, Xiaopingan found that everyone in the room had normal expressions, no one showed contempt, and they were not surprised at all. What did this mean? It meant that the guy who just flattered him usually spoke in such a slippery style. Everyone is used to it. Everyone, please introduce yourselves. What is your name, what is your specific position, and what you are responsible for? Let me find out. Well, Miu, let's start with you. The last time I saw you was in the library? I didn't expect that. I haven't seen you in these days. We've arrived at the inspection office. Xiaopingan pointed to Wei Miu, who was standing on the far left. Wei Miu stepped forward timidly and whispered, my name is Wei Miu. I have just been admitted to the Donggang inspection office. My job here is to be responsible for document management, and I also do some secretarial and administrative work. After the introduction, Wei Miu took a step back, Xiaopingan nodded, and his eyes fell on a middle-aged woman next to Wei Miu with curly hair, wearing a loose floral skirt, and a somewhat fat figure. This middle-aged woman was not a summoner either. My name is Lu Ping. I am the financial accountant of the Donggang Inspection Office. I am responsible for the accounts and fund management of the inspection office. Next to Lu Ping was a gentle little girl in her 20s. After Lu Ping introduced herself, the little girl also stepped forward and said, my name is Zhang Zioqi. I am the cashier of the supervision office. I am responsible for contacting the bank and am also responsible for number 2 warehouse material management. In this way, everyone introduced themselves one by one in front of Xiaopingan. Within the inspection office, 18 non-summoners, including Wei Miu, are responsible for administrative, financial, back office, boiler and property management, warehouse management, chefs, and other logistical tasks within the inspection office. These people include men. There are women, ranging in age from their 20s to their 60s. In addition to these people, the other 24 people are all operational members of the inspection agency, and their strength is basically between the 1 Yang realm and the 2nd Yang realm. There are a total of 30 action members in the inspection office, divided into 6 teams, each with 5 people. The 5 people from Team 2 went out on patrol this morning and have not returned yet. There is also a member of Team 1 who was injured in the previous operation and is in the hospital. For treatment, he probably won't be able to come back within a few months, and everyone else will be here. Huazikan, who threw a fireball at Xiaopingan's head before, was the captain of Team 3. The fat bald man who flattered Xiaopingan was the captain of Team 6, named Sidu Hua. Sidu Hua had been working in the inspectorate for almost 20 years and was a standard veteran. Those who become captains are all summoners of the Air Yang realm. The captain of Team 1 is Fan Gang. He is a man wearing a black robe, taciturn and with a gloomy temperament, like Professor Snape. The captain of Team 4 is called Fang Nu. He is strong, with thick eyebrows and narrow eyes. He looks like a gold medal gangster in the underworld. His temperament is somewhat similar to that of Tupolu. At first glance, he looks like the kind of man who likes to use violence to solve problems. That is, this guy looked at Xiaopingan with a somewhat unscrupulous look. The captain of Team 5 is called Dong Menyang. He looks like a gentleman in his 20s. He wears old-fashioned tortoise-shell glasses and has a harmless smile on his face at all times. He looks like a rookie intern here. Same, but Xiaopingan will not be confused by this person, because the person who can be the captain in the supervision office is definitely not an ordinary person. The summoners who can join the Judgment Army have been strictly selected. Every one of them is the best and elite among the summoners. There are no idiots. This is something that Xiaopingan, who has personally participated in the selection of the Judgment Army, knows very well. Experience. From today on, Mia will be my secretary. Your office will be moved to the outside of my office. Situ Hua will stay and others can leave. Xiaopingan said to everyone. Several people in the crowd glanced at Wei Miu. Wei Miu's face was feverish, she lowered her head and looked at her toes. Most people had expressionless faces, but Situ Hua seemed a little surprised and didn't know what Xiaopingan meant by leaving him behind. In the blink of an eye, only Xiaopingan and the fat bald man Situ Hua were left in the huge office. Sit down, Xiaopingan pointed to the chair in front of the desk and asked Situ Hua to sit down. Situ Hua was extremely cautious and sat down with his lower buttocks next to the chair, with a smile on his face. I wonder why you asked me to stay. Xiaopingan took matters into his own hands, poured 2 cups of tea, and put 1 cup in front of Situ Hua. Situ Hua was flattered and quickly stood up, but Xiaopingan pressed his shoulders and suppressed him. You are an old man from the inspectorate, you must be very familiar with the situation in the inspectorate and Donggang district. I am leaving you because I want to ask you about the real situation in the inspectorate and Donggang district. Hearing what Xiaopingan said, Situ Hua breathed a sigh of relief, his expression relaxed, and he said quickly, I will tell you everything you want to know. I just want to ask how the inspector makes money, Xiaopingan asked directly. Cough. Situ Hua, who had just taken a sip of water, choked and coughed when he heard Xiaopingan's question. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 242. Even if he beat Situ Hua to death, he wouldn't have thought that the new inspector would actually let him ask this question. What is this for? Is it to test whether I am clean or not, or is it because I regard myself as a trustworthy person that I am so direct, or is it just a joke on myself? Cough cough cough. Situ Hua coughed loudly, as if he was really choked, his face turned red, and taking the opportunity of coughing, his head quickly turned around, thinking about how to answer. The inspector who can ask such a question is either an idiot, or the backend is very powerful, and he is so powerful that he does not have to worry about being investigated by the superiors, so he is so unscrupulous. Why, is this question difficult to answer? Don't tell me you don't know, Xiaopingan looked at Situ Hua calmly. Seeing Situ Hua's little eyes moving around, Xiaopingan knew that the Situ Hua was thinking about how to answer. He showed his true face to attract the firepower of the blood demon cult to His Highness the Crown Prince. The salary of the inspector was a subsidy for high-risk work. How could Xiaopingan be so polite? Even if Baitang Wangchuan knew about it, Xiaopingan dared to be sure that Baitang Wangchuan will never say another word. No, I was just thinking about how to explain it to the adults. This explanation is a bit complicated. Situ Hua said quickly, and his expression returned to normal a little. It doesn't matter. We have plenty of time. You speak slowly and I listen slowly. Situ Hua gritted his teeth, finally made up his mind, and began to say with a serious face, "Ahem, my lord just said how to make money. This lord's statement is actually wrong." "Oh, what's wrong?" Xiaopinggan squinted his eyes and asked with a smile. The expression on Xuanhuan's face was as upright and awe-inspiring as if he was giving a report. "As the inspector of Donggang, Your Excellency ensures the safety and stability of the tens of thousands of business groups, firms, and shops in Donggang, and the millions of people in the entire Donggang district. The safety of one's life and property, and the safety of large and small cargo ships coming in and out of the dock are all maintained by adults. Although there is also a police station in Donggang district, the police station can only handle ordinary trivial matters and catch those thieves. Small people can solve disputes between ordinary people and maintain order in the market. When the police station encounters summoners and people with various special abilities, ordinary police officers are not even cannon fodder. They still have to rely on us. The adjudication army and the inspectorate have stepped in to settle the matter. Sir, do you think your position is important?" Xiaopinggan touched his chin. "If you say so, it's really important. Of course, sir, don't look at the fact that we don't have many people in our inspection department. We only have about 30 summoners and 6 groups of people at full count. But the rights and responsibilities of our inspection department are huge. As long as we are in charge of all kinds of summoners, such as the blood demon cult, those cult dissidents, people with special abilities, or cases related to hostile countries and alien races or things that may be related. We also have the responsibility of supervising and investigating rapes. We are the eyes, ears, and arms of the adjudication army. Behind our inspection office, standing are the entire adjudication army and His Majesty. If something happens and we can't solve it, we can immediately call on the combat power of the adjudication army to deal with ordinary people. As an organization, the people of the inspection department go out to meet with officials. If nothing else, even the police chief and district chief of Donggang district must be polite when they see you. Sir, do you think your power is important? Heavy. It seems a bit heavy. Xiaopinggan nodded, his face serious. So, my lord, in such an important position and with such great power, it is appropriate to receive better treatment, and it is also appropriate to earn some money to support the family. Sir, do you think I am right? Xuanhuan was excited. Yes, that's right. No one can work hungry, Xiaopinggan sighed. That's right, your excellency is of noble character, why should you use it to make money? That sounds awful to say, and it is illegal to embezzle and make money. How could you do such a thing? I am the first to not believe it, but this Donggang district needs adults. There are too many places to take care of and guide, so you have to find a way to take care of them all, right? Otherwise, you are derelict in your duty, don't you think so? That's right. Where do you think I need to take care of you? There are more than 470 large-scale brothels, bathhouses, restaurants, and clubs in Donggang district. These places have always been a mixture of dragons and snakes. They are frequented by various Jianghu characters and summoners, and there are often various disputes. Do you want to take care of these places? Care? Yes, of course. So, the security of these places cannot be done by ordinary people. It must be taken care of by the security business groups that you think are reliable and trustworthy. Your Excellency guides the security business groups in their work, maintains local order, and provides them with business guidance. And also introduced them to work, occupied some shares in those security business groups, and earned some hard-earned money every month based on their skills. It is fair and just, and the national law does not prohibit it. This is an income for adults. It is clean and above board. Why bother? Go fishing. Yes, this is indeed an income, clean and tidy. Xiaopinggan nodded, thinking, This is a white glove using the security business group to make money. With such a layer, it is indeed much safer. Is there anything else besides this? Other than that, the most numerous large ships and warehouses in Donggang are the large ships and warehouses on the docks. 3 religions and 9 streams gather in the upper capital. The ships and dock warehouses are the key control areas of our inspection office. There are often cult members and dissidents of hostile forces. Elements often come to Beijing by sea, and prohibited items are hidden on many merchant ships. Sir, you should pay more attention to these places. The ship owners and the bosses and shopkeepers of the dock and warehouse also need you to protect their safety. Don't you think so? Yes, you are right, but how can we protect it? Wharfs, ports, warehouses, and ships are most afraid of accidents. An accident in these places will be a big deal, so they have to buy insurance and pay deposits every year. If an accident occurs, they can be compensated to avoid going bankrupt. Which insurance company is reliable and strong, and the insurance can? It's the adults who have the final say when it comes to buying. It's okay for the adults to hold some shares in the bank and receive some bonuses every month. Well, the white gloves that make money in these most lucrative places have directly become insurance companies. This inspector is really good at making money. Xiaoping'an secretly sighed, and then asked, what if these docks, ports, warehouses and ships? So what if my employer doesn't buy insurance from the insurance company I recommend? If you don't buy insurance from a bank that you think is reliable, then you might have an ulterior motive, like the owner of the warehouse. You just need to wait for their warehouse to be filled with things, then seal the warehouse and count the suspicious items, or ask the bosses in the warehouses to unpack the items in the warehouses and count them one by one. Those bosses will be pissed, as well as those on passenger ships and cargo ships. Once a cult is involved, or a summoner's case is involved, or the ship is carrying prohibited items, or there is a problem with the sailors on the ship, the adults can detain the ship at the dock so that it cannot move, and the ship owners and bosses will come and kneel down. Please let me go. The same is true for the dock. As long as you have a seizure order or a seal, you can make those people cry for father and mother. Of course, you are above board and will not do this. These methods are only for dealing with those who have ulterior motives. Method. Anything else? There are also various horse and carriage shops, tooth shops, power shops, and wine shops in Donggang district. You have to take care of them. These shops are managed by various guilds and chambers of commerce. You don't have to deal with the people under these shops. You only need to work for them. Arrange lawyers to be their legal advisors, and they will naturally be sensible and know what to do. If these businesses encounter disputes and bring them to the adults can make the final decision and arbitrate. This is much more convenient than them going to court, so Your Majesty, please see what you do. It's hard work, you have to take care of so many things, you have to worry about it, you earn some hard money, who can say no? Damn, this position is indeed a fat one. You don't even make money with your own hands. You use white gloves. There is already a very mature set of game rules. What does Lixing do? Xiaoping'an asked. Lixing is the coolie business in the docks, ports, ships and warehouses. They are all hard work. These coolie businesses belong to 3 different gangs. In order to grab business, it is also very chaotic. Fights and the use of knives are common. Occasionally, they will also cause some people and troubles that they shouldn't cause. Without the care and acquiescence of adults, it will be difficult for these low-level gangs to survive in Donggang district. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 243. In Donggang district, adults can earn some hard money in these places, but adults also know that there are many noble people in the capital, and those noble families also have various businesses and operate various trades, especially in docks, ports, ships, warehouses. There are some businesses in insurance companies, wine shops, and clubs. These noble people cannot earn money. They have their own relationships. For the sake of their own future, adults have to take care of them. If anything happens to the business of these noble people, it's troublesome, but we still need adults to help settle it, so that it can last long. Of course, the shopkeepers and bosses who make money for these noble people are also smart people, and will not take the initiative to cause trouble for adults. There are also some etiquette in normal times, and everyone gets along well. Xuanhuan honestly made it clear what kind of money can be made and what kind of money cannot be made. Xiaopingan nodded, and he probably understood in his mind, what are the specific businesses run by the nobles in the capital. There are Da Changhao, Shangxingxi, De Shunlong, Pingyuan Merchant Group, Shangjing Baoxing, Kazang Pier, Donggang Pier 7-21, Shanyi Liquor Store, Baixiang Liquor Store, Anziku, Sihai Shipping Company. Xuanhuan was pouring beans out of his mouth like he was counting family treasures, and he said 70 or 80 in one breath. If something happens to the business run by these noble people, the adults will either pretend not to see it, or find someone to remind them from the side. Just one moment will do, don't make a big move. Okay, I get it. Xiaopingan nodded and smiled slightly. Then what are the usual incomes and salaries of other people in the inspectorate? The normal income of the inspection office consists of two parts. One part is the allocation from the adjudication army, which is about 17,000 gold coins per year. This money is to maintain the daily expenses of the inspection office and everyone's superficial salary. Like me, everyone the monthly salary of the inspectorate is only 59 gold coins, the summoner of the Yang realm is 39 gold coins, and the lord has 89 gold coins. The salary of other people in the inspectorate is not much compared to us, but in Shangjing City among ordinary people, it is also a high income, which is not bad. In addition to this fixed salary, everyone's other income comes from bonuses for handling cases. Haha, I didn't expect that summoners in this world are also superstitious. Like 9. I wonder if the superstitious habits of summoners on Earth were passed down from this world, Xiaopingan said secretly. Oh, how do you get the bonus for handling the case? It's very simple. For example, Your Excellency found a group of cult members in Donggang district who were endangering Shangjing City. After those cult members were eliminated, there would naturally be some property left that could be seized. It would be impossible for the cultists to run around naked in Shangjing City. Right, for example, some ship warehouses traffic and store contraband. We can also check these. The property of the cult members and the contraband we seized, as well as fines, etc., after counting, there will be 20% the assets are converted into funds and returned to our inspection office. It is up to the adults to decide how the money is divided within the inspection office. Generally speaking, the adults keep 30% of the money and the others share 70%. Of course, if things go wrong, if there are any risks, adults will bear them. How much is this bonus? Xuanhuan smiled slyly. Sometimes this part of the bonus is more, sometimes less. It depends on the weather, your ability, and our luck. Just like the investigation of the Blood Demon sect a few days ago, the remnants of the Blood Demon sect were in Shangjing City. They all have a lot of property, some are extremely rich, and they are not in much danger. If they fall into the errand of the inspectorate, they will get rich. This is luck. Xiaopingan smiled slightly. What kind of luck is that? It's because he is paying dividends to the Judgment Army. Okay. When you say so, it is indeed luck. By the way, what are you most afraid of when working in the inspection office? What the people who serve in the various inspection offices in Shangjing City are most afraid of is encountering the kind of inspectors who don't care about the life and death of the people below them. If something goes wrong, they will push the people below them out of the tank. Don't believe it, sir. There are still many inspectors like that in Shangjing City. Whoever encounters them will be in trouble. Xuanhuan sighed. The prices in Shangjing City are very high, and it is not easy to gain a foothold in Shangjing City. Even our adjudicating army, above the training resources handed out, are also limited. To buy things like world beads and spiritual mind crystals, it costs money, and it is not a small amount of money. With that fixed salary, you can make 1 or 2 with the money you save in a year. This world pearl is as high as the sky. If you start a family or have a wife outside, you will have to spend more money. No one dislikes an inspector who can give everyone more bonuses. What do you think, sir? Haha, this Xuanhuan can be considered as admonishing in a roundabout way. Xiaopingan smiled slightly and said, "Okay, I understand everything you said. You go and inform the Donggang District Lixing and the Car and Horse Agency who are under my care. Those responsible persons came to the inspectorate for tea this afternoon, and I will have a chat with them." "Yes," Xuanhuan nodded quickly. "No, you go do things first." "Okay, then I'm going to do some work." Xuanhuan nodded, stood up from his seat, took a few steps back, then turned around, opened the office door, and walked out. As soon as Xuanhuan walked out, Wei Miu walked in. Wei Miu's eyes were lowered, her cheeks were reddish, and she was a little reserved. She didn't even dare to look at Xiaopingan's face. Until now, Wei Miu still felt that everything that happened today was like a dream. It was hard to believe that the Xiaopingan who saved her was actually a highly powerful inspector. Of course, as a woman, seeing Xiaopingan asking herself to be his secretary as soon as he arrived, Wei Miu would inevitably have some special reveries in her heart. For a woman, facing a powerful male boss, the position of secretary is actually a very ambiguous position. The weird looks the people in the inspectorate looked at her just now were enough to explain everything. "Sir, the head chef asked me to ask you whether you would like to arrange a reception banquet for you at the inspection office today, and whether you have any taboos in your usual meals," Wei Miu asked in a low voice. "Well, tell the chef that there is no need for a feast, and everything will continue as usual. Also, I don't eat onions, garlic, leeks, and coriander." Onions, garlic, leeks, and coriander are the 5 meats in the usual sense. Ever since he came into contact with some cultivation methods in his previous life, Xiaopingan has stopped eating these things. Meat is associated with fainting. Although summoners in this world have no taboos, Xiaopingan's eating habits have still been retained. "Well, okay," Wei Miu said and was about to leave. "Wait a minute." Xiaopingan stopped her. Wei Miu's body suddenly stiffened, and her cheeks became even hotter. "Sir, is there anything else?" "Stop standing, sit down and talk." Wei Miu sat in front of Xiaopingan, her legs tightly together, her hands on her knees, her right hand grasping the fingers of her left hand, a little nervous and entangled, for fear that Xiaopingan would suddenly come over and do something. "Haha, don't be nervous. I forgot to ask you just now. Weren't you in the library before? Why are you here at the inspectorate again?" Hearing that Xiaopingan asked no strange questions and no one came over, Wei Miu relaxed a little and smiled slightly. "One is that the treatment here in the inspectorate is better than that in the library. I can enjoy it after entering the inspectorate. The establishment of formal public officials in the Great Shang Kingdom. Secondly, when I was in the library before, the son of a deputy director of the library always came to harass me and wanted me to be his girlfriend. Only then did I make up my mind to leave the library and take the civil service recruitment examination of Dashang State, and I got here." "Oh, do you still live in the previous apartment? If you still live there, wouldn't it be close to work here?" "I have now moved to an apartment in Donggang District." It is not far from here. I can get there very quickly by taking the subway to and from get off work every day. Are you still used to working here? It's a good habit. Sister Qin and the others take good care of me. After chatting with Wei Miao for a few words, Xiaopinggan let Wei Miao leave. After walking out of Xiaopinggan's office again, Wei Miao breathed a long sigh of relief and found that her fingers were covered in sweat, but for some reason, she felt a little disappointed in her heart. After Wei Miao left, Xiaopinggan was not idle. He left the office directly and walked around the entire inspection office. He looked everywhere, including the offices, file rooms, warehouses, evidence rooms, financial rooms, and equipment of each team. After going around the warehouse, restaurants, and other places, Xiaopinggan finally came to the underground prison of the inspectorate. The underground prison of the inspectorate is a bit like the detention center of the police station. It is located on the first and second basement floors of the inspectorate. It is not a formal prison cell, but is a temporary detention center for people arrested for various reasons. Of course, even though it's temporary, the inspectorate's detention of you for 3 to 5 years seems like a joke. The underground prison of the inspection office is guarded by 5 internal guards from the inspection office, which is exactly a small team. These inner guards are all strong and capable people with some martial arts skills. They are not summoners, and their daily jobs are also very simple. Seeing the newly arrived inspector coming to the entrance of the underground cell, Qi Daifeng, the captain of the inspection team's internal security team, was startled. He quickly took several internal security team members to tidy up their clothes and hurriedly left the duty room. He ran out and stood at attention and saluted in front of Xiaopinggan. Sir, why are you here? Qi Daifeng stammered, a little nervous. Qi Daifeng is in his 50s, dark and strong. At first glance, he looks like a very responsible person. He has also worked as an internal guard in the Donggang inspection office for more than 10 years. Well, I'll just come down and take a look. Xiaopinggan smiled. The dungeon of the inspectorate was much cleaner than he thought. Looking from the entrance, the dungeon below didn't feel dirty at all. The dungeon there is no dust on the stone floor below, and the ventilation is smooth. The gas lights on both sides of the walkway are on, and it looks very neat. You manage it well here, better than I thought. After being praised by Xiaopinggan, Qi Daifeng became less nervous and a little happy. There are not many people in the dungeon of the supervision department. The felons have all been transferred away. Now there are only more than 10 people in prison, so it is not a mess. Come on, come and see with me. Yes, Qi Daifeng cheered up, took the key, opened the dungeon door, and took Xiaopinggan to patrol the dungeon. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 244. The people imprisoned in the dungeon of the inspectorate had black metal shackles on their necks, hands and feet, and the shackles were connected with black iron chains. They were crowded into a cell of more than 10 square meters and spoke in a dull and flattering manner. Or he looked at the group of people entering the dungeon with fearful expressions. The metal shackles on those people can not only imprison their divine power, but also imprison their bodies. Once put on, those below the 7 Yang realm are no different from ordinary people. With dozens of kilograms of things on their bodies, their movements are not even as convenient as ordinary people. To open the shackles on those people, 2 keys are needed. One key is in the hands of the internal security team, and the other key can only be obtained after Xiaopinggan's signature and approval. Qi Daifeng walked in the cell and introduced the situation in the cell to Xiaopinggan. Sir, I was wronged. Please let me out. I don't dare to do anything anymore. I really didn't do anything. A voice of pleading came from a cell next to it. A man with an unshaven beard and a sallow face. The man dragged his shackles to the cell with a clatter, stretched out his hand pitifully and begged loudly. What did this man commit? Xiaopinggan glanced at the man and asked. This person is a suspect. A month ago, A woman in Donggang district was raped at home at night. After investigation, it was found that it was the summoner who committed the crime. The summoner who committed the crime used the magic of drawing the ground to create a prison to imprison the women, and then began to commit the crime. The police couldn't handle the case and couldn't arrest anyone, so they handed it over to the inspectorate. After receiving the case, the inspectorate arranged several teams to patrol. Finally, the second team patrolled the area where the crime occurred and found this man ghosting in the middle of the night. He was sneaking around civilian areas, so he was arrested. Once this person was arrested, the woman's sexual assault case was closed, so he was locked up here. Sir, I am unjustly accused, I am unjustly accused. I was just stalking a person outside that night. I took over the job as a bounty hunter, not a prisoner. The man shouted loudly in the cell, with a hopeful tone. He looked at Xiaopingan. Is there any evidence? The QJ prisoner didn't leave anything behind when he committed violence, so we haven't found any favorable evidence, and we haven't found anything in the interrogation, so we locked this person up here and continued to supplement the investigation. If we find evidence, such a person, the scum, can be directly castrated and then sent to the trial court, and he does not need to continue to be locked up here. The castration Qi Daifeng said was not an angry talk, but the laws of the Great Shang Kingdom indeed stipulated this. Once a prisoner was confirmed to be a prisoner, the first punishment was to directly perform physical castration and castration. Xiaopingan didn't say anything. He just glanced at the man and continued walking forward. There are all kinds of summoners imprisoned here, most of them are preparatory summoners and summoners of the One Sun realm. The reasons for everyone being imprisoned here are varied. Except for the suspected QJ criminal just now, the other summoners imprisoned here are up to. There are 3 types. One type is using summoning spells to fight or participating in fights in public, which is severely punished by the inspectorate. The second type is when bounty hunters step over the line in order to complete the task after accepting the job and are inspected. The investigation department found that the third type is to use space equipment to smuggle prohibited items. The second and third types will not be locked up here if they are serious. They will be thrown into prison after trial. Those who can be locked up here are either not too serious and will be detained for a year and a half and a few months. Just pay the money and it will be over, or the evidence is not enough. The inspectorate is supplementing the investigation and will hand it over when the time comes. After walking around the dungeon, Xiaopingan probably understood who were imprisoned here. These summoners were nothing in the eyes of the Judgment Army, but in the eyes of ordinary people and the police, these guys were as harmful as terrifying, absolutely top-notch, dangerous and difficult to deal with. No one can handle it except the inspectorate. Damn it, if you use the magic of drawing the ground as a prison to invade a woman, no ordinary person can stop you. Unknowingly, Qi Daifeng brought Xiaopingan to the cell where the last prisoner was held. When he saw the man, Xiaopingan was almost shocked by the man. In the shadow of the cell, the man sat in the corner like a stone, motionless, with long messy hair, exuding the aura of an angry lion, looking coldly at the man standing with a fire-like cold and unyielding gaze. Xiaopingan outside the prison. What shocked Xiaopingan was the man's face. There were more than a dozen vertical and horizontal scars on that man's face, as well as pitted burns. Except for a pair of eyes, which were still intact, other parts had been seen. Not like a human being. This person isn't a summoner. Xiaopingan felt it for a moment, then turned to ask Qi Daifeng. Yes, sir, this person is not a summoner. He is a high-level warrior who cultivates fighting spirit. He has already reached the 8th level. In this world, warriors practice fighting spirit, which is a different system from summoners. It can only be said that in a world with summoners and guns, warriors live a miserable life, and they are not even considered supporting roles. An 8th level warrior, in the world of warriors, is similar to the summoner's 8 Yang realm. He is definitely a top-notch existence. He can defeat a police station by himself without any problem, but even such a warrior will not be able to meet a Yang. For a summoner in this realm, a magic technique of drawing the ground as a prison can make the warrior helpless and wait for death. When he heard Qi Daifeng calling Lord Xiaopingan, the man who was as silent as iron moved his cold eyes slightly. "Why is this person here?" Xiaopingan continued to ask. The inspectorate found this man in the dock area during an inspection 6 months ago. He had just gotten off the boat and was carrying weapons and a lot of high explosives. After he was discovered, he tried to escape and injured 2 policemen while escaping. But we caught him. A lot of explosives. How many are there? More than 2,000 kilograms. How much? Xiaopingan thought he heard wrongly and asked again. More than 2,000 kilograms. I thought it was a mistake before. I never thought it was true. This man was found to have disguised more than 2,000 kilograms of high explosives as a salute and carried them on his back. The explosives this man was carrying are now still in the evidence room. Coming to the capital with so much explosives all over his body, what on earth does this guy want to do? Are there any fireworks? Have you been interrogated? After interrogation, this person didn't say a word even if he was beaten to death. He just remained silent, like an iron lump. Such a person doesn't know why he came to the capital. He is a dangerous person and cannot be released casually. But for a while, I can't find any more clues about him, and I can't find out his identity, so I can only keep him here. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 245. Crashing, Crashing. Upon hearing Qi Daifeng's introduction, the man who had been as silent as a rock in the cell suddenly stood up, dragged the heavy metal shackles on his body, and walked towards the cell door. As soon as the man stood up, Xiaopingan realized that the man was quite tall, nearly 2 meters tall, with legs like 2 pillars, and a person could almost stand on one shoulder. The shackles worn by this man are special equipment tailor-made for warriors, which can limit the warrior's fighting spirit. The shackles are different from those of the summoner. The iron chain on the shackles is thicker than a thumb. On the man's shackles, there was also a large iron ball weighing several hundred kilograms tied to it, which made a dull sound when it was dragged on the floor of the cell. The man walked over silently, like an angry lion or a humanoid tank. Xiaopingan remained calm, but Qi Daifeng and several other internal guards who followed Xiaopingan here became nervous. Several internal guards took out sticks and stood in front of Xiaopingan. Qi Daifeng also pressed his hands on them. He put the gun holster on his waist and quickly said to Xiaopingan, "Sir, this person is very dangerous. Even if his fighting spirit and body are restricted, once he gets close, this person can crush stones like flour with his bare hands. It's dangerous, please step back." The man in the cell walked up to the iron bars, grabbed the alloy iron bars with both hands, put a terrifying face like a weathered cracked rock against the iron bars, and stared at him with cold and oppressive eyes. "With peace in the summer." Xiaopingan smiled, separated the few guards who were blocking him, and instead walked a few steps towards the cell door, almost reaching the iron bars, and calmly looked at the person walking over. Is there anything you want to tell me? If you don't speak, you may be imprisoned for a long, long time. They are all afraid of me, aren't you afraid of me? The man finally spoke, his hoarse voice low and powerful, echoing from his throat. Qi Daifeng was so nervous that he broke into a cold sweat, fearing that the man's big hands would stick out from the iron bars. At the same time, he was also a little shocked, because this was the first time the man in the cell spoke since he was captured. "Why should I be afraid of you? If you do something bad, you should be afraid of me." "Bad thing? Ha ha ha." The man suddenly laughed wildly, and the whole cell was shaking. The man's hands suddenly grabbed the iron bars, and the iron bars, which were thicker than a child's arms, suddenly made a strange creaking sound. The aura on the man's body became violent, and his eyes suddenly turned red. Do you know what a bad thing is? What is a bad person? A real devil will stay in a cell. Do you know how dirty this capital is? Shanghai city is indeed not very clean, and there are a lot of scum outside. You don't need to tell me this. I can only do my best to make the world a little cleaner and let those scum receive the punishment they deserve. The man's wild eyes were a little restrained. You are very special, but don't even think about asking anything from me. Xiaoping'an carefully examined the man's face and smiled. The scars on your face appeared all at once. They were cut with a knife first and then burned with fire. The knife marks were not deep and only damaged the appearance of the flesh. It didn't hurt the muscles and bones, and it was very measured when it started. The burning scars completely avoided your eyes. From these wounds, it can be inferred that the injuries on your face were not caused by outsiders, but were caused by your own disfigurement. Your disfigurement was caused by you don't want others to recognize you. You can make such a big decision to come to the capital. The goal must be big. Maybe you didn't think about leaving alive, right? The man's expression changed slightly. You came to Shangjing City with so many high explosives. You definitely didn't come to set off fireworks, but to do something. It's just that you don't think you can accomplish what you want to do with your force, so you have to use so many explosives. Dynamite, you are here for revenge, and the target of your revenge, the devil you are talking about, may not be an ordinary person, right? The man pursed his mouth tightly, took his hands off the iron bars, dragged the heavy shackles, and slowly backed away without saying a word. He retreated to the corner of the cell and sat down again, as silent as a stone. Xiaoping'an's eyes swept across the iron bars of the cell. On the iron bars, he could already see 2 rows of clear fingerprints left on the iron bars just now. The guy in the cell was too terrifying, and his strength was limited. In this way, if the strength is not limited, ordinary people will be as fragile as eggs in front of such people. I am Xiaoping'an, the inspector of the Adjudication Army's Donggang Inspection Office. Whenever you want to confess, you can tell me. After saying these words, Xiaoping'an turned around with Qi Daifeng and several internal guards. Just leave. Sir, I was wronged. Let me out. I really didn't do anything. The man who was suspected of a QJ prisoner was still shouting in the cell. Xiaoping'an looked at the man's cell number. One glance, number 11, he did not speak, but left directly. After coming out of the cell, Xiaoping'an returned to his office. When he saw Wei Miu at the door, he told Wei Miu, "Get me the file of the person in cell number 11 in the dungeon, and then call Huazikan." Yes, Wei Miu quickly put down the things in her hands and hurriedly went to get the files and files. However, Wei Miu quickly brought the files over, a thin file bag, and then went to call Huazikan. Xiaoping'an was looking at the QJ suspect's file in the office. Within a minute, Huazikan came. Huazikan was a little uneasy, wondering if Xiaoping'an wanted to settle a score with him. When Huazikan came to the office, her eyes were darting wildly and her nerves were tense, fearing that Xiaoping'an would make some strange request. "Sir, are you calling me?" "Well, there's something you need to do." Xiaoping'an's eyes were on the file, without even raising his head to look at her. "What's up? Do you know the man in cell 11 in the dungeon?" "Sir, are you talking about the captured QJ suspect?" Huazikan raised her eyebrows. "Yes, it's him. Now go find those women who were victimized and cut a bunch of hair from each of them. You're a woman, so it's easier to do this." It turned out that she was asked to do the work. Huazikan breathed a sigh of relief, but then she became curious. "What do you want the hair of those victimized women to do?" "Bring the hair, and I can determine whether that person is really guilty." Huazikan suddenly regained her energy, straightened her waist, and replied forcefully, "Yes, I'll go right away." During lunch, the men from Team 2 who were patrolling outside finally came back. Xiaoping'an finally met Long Chao, the captain of Team 2, and several other team members. Long Chao seemed to be the kind of unsmiling but smart and capable person, and several of his team members were also good. Now, Xiaopinggan was regarded as the commander-in-chief. Everyone in the investigation knew each other. In the afternoon, the heads of gangs and guilds from Lixing and Chima in Donggang district, as well as the head of a law firm that served as Xiaopinggan's white gloves, all came to the inspection office and greeted Xiaopinggan in a polite manner. Xiaopinggan met them separately first, and after understanding the situation, he brought them together and told them his arrangements. In the conference room of the supervision office, the gang leaders of the 3 major gangs in Donggang district and the owners of the 4 major carriage houses were sitting tremblingly, looking at lawyer Zhang from the Donggan law firm from time to time. The gang leaders of the 3 major gangs and the owners of the 4 major carriage shops in Donggang district were actually prepared for a big hemorrhage. Before they came to visit, they heard that the new inspector had a strong background and was a fierce warrior across the river. Dragon, it is not easy to feed such a raptor. Lawyer Zhang was also wiping the sweat from his shiny forehead, and he was also a little worried. As the saying goes, once the emperor and his courtiers arrive, it is completely unknown whether his white gloves will still be trusted and reused after the new owner arrives. He just and the previous inspector was familiar with him, but he knew nothing about the new inspector. In his position, I don't know how many people are staring at him, and how many colleagues are so jealous that their eyes are green. Lawyer Zhang had already received the news in the morning that the new inspector had arrived. Just when he was very energetic and prepared a generous gift to CPO Zhang Xin, he did not expect that Situ Hua would directly send someone to inform him. He came to the inspection office and said that the inspector wanted to see him. Everyone in the conference room was caught off guard, wondering what the new inspector wanted to do. I already understand everyone's situation. I called you here today just to get to know you. From now on, everyone's molecular money and consultant fees will remain the same and will not increase. They will still be handed over to lawyer Zhang. Xiaopinggan's first words immediately made all 8 people in the conference room breathe a sigh of relief. Everyone's heart dropped to their stomachs. The leader of the 3 major gangs in Donggang district and the owner of the 4 major horse racing shops. I'm happy that this raptor doesn't look down on the skinny bones on their bodies, and lawyer Zhang is happy that the new owner has confidence in him. Glancing at the prominent figures in Donggang district, Xiaopinggan continued, I like money, but I don't make money from the poor and the hard haha. It's not easy for the brothers from Lixing and carriage and horse racing to make some money. It's all about earning some hard-earned money and working hard. I don't earn their money. The 8 people in the conference room looked shocked when they heard what Xiaopinggan said. Lawyer Zhang, from now on, the more than 2,000 gold coins and legal advisory fees that Lixing and the car and horse company will turn in every month do not need to be handed over to me. You can open an account in the bank and the money will be deposited into the account. As long as I am in the position of supervisor for 1 day, I will pay for the treatment expenses for illness and injury of all the workers and drivers of Lixing and carriage and horse shops in Donggang district, as well as the funeral expenses for accidental deaths. All expenses and pensions will be paid out of the mutual insurance fund account. I have decided on the funeral expenses now, which is 10 gold coins per person, and the pension expenses are 120 gold coins per person. The medical expenses will be reimbursed according to the amount of treatment. The use of funds in that account is determined by 3 a gang leader and 4 car dealership owners work together to supervise and reconcile the accounts every 6 months. Is there any problem? The conference room was quiet for more than 10 seconds. Li Haihu, the leader of the Lixing Axe gang, suddenly pushed away his chair and stood up. He quickly took out the dagger and cut a large bloody gash in his palm without even frowning. After a while, he said in a deep voice, I, Li Haihu, swear here that if I embezzle half a gold coin from the mutual aid fund in the future, I, Li Haihu, will die a miserable death and lose all my descendants. Today, I also express my opinion on behalf of my brothers in the Axe gang. Thank you, sir. Look down on our hard-working brothers. From now on, the inspector will have his orders, and my brothers from the Axe Gang will never frown even if they go up to the mountains of swords and into the sea of fire. After Li Haihu of the Axe Gang made such a statement, the leaders of the other two gangs in Lixing, the Kuang Shark Gang and the Julie Gang, also stood up. Without any ambiguity at all, they each cut their own palms with knives, and a bloody figure appeared in front of Xiaopingan. I swear, the content is similar to Li Haihu's. The owners of the 4 major carriage shops were a little uncomfortable with the bloody scene, but at this time, they could only bite their fingers like the leaders of the 3 major gangs and swear a blood oath in front of Xiaopingan. In that case, the matter is settled. Let's start from this month. From now on, the ground in Donggang will still depend on you all to work together to maintain it. Let everyone be harmonious and make money. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 246. Has Huazigan not come back yet? Xiaopingan sat comfortably on the soft and thick leather chair, took a sip of the fragrant green tea brewed by Wei Miu, and glanced at the time on the wall clock in the room, feeling satisfied. Let out a breath. It was my first day to take up the post at the supervision office. After a day of tossing around, I finally managed to finish all the things that needed to be done. Well, the adults asked her to collect evidence. There are more than one victimized women, and some of them may have moved, so they may not be able to come back for a while. Sidu Hua stood in front of Xiaopingan's desk, looking at Xiaopingan's desk. With an expression on his face, he cautiously reported to Xiaopingan, "Lawyer Zhang, I have already taken him to visit those insurance companies and security business groups, and I have also told them all your words. The owner of the bank and security business group actually wants to find an opportunity to visit the Lord in person." Xiaopingan looked at Sidu Hua expressionlessly. Huh? When did I ask you to take Lawyer Zhang to visit some insurance company and security business group? Why didn't I know about this? Upon hearing Xiaopingan's words, Sidu Hua was stunned for a moment, and the next second he felt his heart beating violently and sweating profusely. Damn, this is to put aside the relationship. The 2 layers of insurance, white gloves, and Lawyer Zhang, are not enough. He was collecting money behind his back, and if something happened, he wanted to throw himself out as a scapegoat. Thinking of the consequences, Sidu Hua's feet went weak and he almost couldn't stand. Ha ha ha, don't be nervous, I'm just joking with you. Look how your face has changed. Xiaopingan suddenly laughed again, which made people feel like a spring breeze. Those people just disappeared. Even if they meet, it's nothing more. It's just some flattering words, it's not interesting. Anyway, the rules remain the same, we can meet again if necessary, as long as they deposit my hard-earned money into my account every month, that's all. Sidu Hua wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and forced a smile. I am too old to be frightened. You better not make such jokes to me in the future. Okay, what do you think of Lawyer Zhang? Sidu Hua calmed down and said, what the Lord likes is that this person is cautious and smart, and will not do stupid things. If you use him, it means that he is useful. Even if he does stupid things, it will be easy to deal with it simple. Xiaopingan smiled and nodded, thank you for your hard work today. It's almost time now. Let's go back from get off work. It's not hard, it's not hard. It's an honor for me to serve you. Sidu Hua wiped away cold sweat and smiled, but carefully took a few steps back before turning around and walking towards the door of the office. Xiaopingan glanced out the window. It was already dusk outside the window, the drizzle was not stopping, and now it was already evening, when the inspectorate office got off work. The street outside was still a little deserted in the afternoon, and there were not many people on the street. At this time, the street became lively, and there were people everywhere after get off work. Because of the rain, the taxi business on the street boomed. It was hard to find a car, and the doorways of several wine shops across the street began to get crowded. White-collar workers and blue-collar workers from banks, business groups, notary offices, various trading companies and trade representative offices on nearby streets began to pour out of buildings one after another. For many migrant workers after a hard day's work, getting off work is the happiest thing. Some want to go home, while others miss the warm and relaxing atmosphere in the wine shop with their colleagues. Xiaopinggan has also been busy at the inspection office for a whole day. This day was full of achievements and felt extremely fulfilling and long. The people who should be met were met, and the things that should be arranged were arranged. Originally, Xiaopinggan wanted to solve a case and establish his glory as an inspector in the inspection office. Status: let's show off, but since Huazikan hasn't come back yet, forget it and wait until tomorrow. Anyway, the people locked in the cell will not escape, and it will take at least 1.5 days. Xiaopinggan stretched, then stood up, put on his coat, and then opened the office door. Outside the office, Wei Miu has moved over and is sorting out some documents. Miu, you can get off work, Xiaopinggan took his umbrella and said to Wei Miu. Wei Miu stood up quickly. Sir, do you want to arrange a car for you? No need, I will go back by myself, you should go back early too. Okay, I'll go back after sorting out these files. Xiaopinggan nodded. Pushing open the door of the supervision office, the cold wind from outside hit his face, refreshing him. Xiaopinggan went down the stairs, walked around the fountain, and came to the door. The gatekeeper Luo Liao opened the door to Xiaopinggan with a smile. Just as he walked onto the street outside, a four-wheeled taxi pulled by two black horses had stopped in front of Xiaopinggan. Pfaff Automobile Co., Limited is honored to serve you. The coachman was sitting in the car, but a young attendant in a black dress opened a black umbrella, opened the door, and respectfully allowed Xiaopinggan to get in the car. This kind of luxurious taxi is rarely seen on the road. In addition to the driver, this carriage will also be equipped with an attendant who serves as a bodyguard. Some rich people like to hire this kind of carriage when they first come to Beijing. Beifu Automobile Dealership is one of the 4 major auto dealers in Donggang District. Xiaopinggan met their owner in the afternoon. Go to Tianyuan Bridge. Xiaopinggan didn't refuse and got in the car directly. The interior of this luxurious carriage has a heater, incense, a bar, and fine wine. It is also covered with a bearskin carpet, which is a bit luxurious. The attendant and the coachman sat in front despite the wind and rain. The coachman shook the reins, and the carriage started running happily. When the carriage arrived at Tianyuan Bridge, the rain had not stopped, but the sky was already dark. It was raining, and there were almost no stalls in the Tianyuan Qiao night market. After Xiaopinggan got out of the car, he directly held an umbrella and came to the Pearl Forest. As soon as the boss of Basilin saw Xiaopinggan come in, he quickly greeted him with a smile and helped Xiaopinggan take the umbrella. I didn't expect you to come even if it rains today. I just stopped by to take a look. I have nothing to do. Xiaopinggan said with a smile. It's a coincidence that you're here. I've just received 2 new world pearls here. According to your request, the prices are good. You sit down and drink tea first, and I'll show them to you. As he spoke, the boss of Basilin took Xiaopinggan directly to the tea room behind the counter. These days, Xiaopinggan bought a lot of world beads here and spent tens of thousands of gold coins. He was already very familiar with the boss of the Pearl Forest. The owner of Basilin, whose surname is Su, is Suhi. He has been selling boundary beads in Tianyuan Bridge for decades. For customers like Xiaopinggan, although the boundary beads he buys every time are mid to low-priced boundary beads, Xiaopinggan is straightforward in his dealings, quick in payments, and buys a lot unknowingly. He has become the shopkeeper of this Basilinchuan. The super micro criticism in his eyes. Just after taking 2 sips of tea, shopkeeper Su came over with 2 boxes, placed them in front of Xiaopingan, and opened one of the boxes. This is a divine power world bead. The chance of death if the fusion fails is 60%, but the fusion the divine power added after success is at least 70 points, and the price is not expensive, only 460 gold coins, which meets your requirements very well. When Xiaopingan looked at the boundary bead, he saw 4 small seal characters flashing inside the boundary bead: lie on firewood and taste courage. Xiaopingan's face suddenly became strange. This is Gojian's boundary pearl. Xiaopingan has no objection to other world beads, but Xiaopingan is really resistant to this world bead. First of all, Xiaopingan doesn't like Gojian. Secondly, trying to fuse this world bead might be very disgusting. Wu After the Yu was destroyed, King Gojian of Yu became a follower around King Wu Fuchai. The reason why Gojian finally gained the trust of King Wu Fuchai to return was because when King Wu Fuchai was ill, Gojian volunteered to taste Wu King Fuchai's feces. King Wu Fuchai was so moved that he allowed Gojian to return home. Therefore, this world pearl, if you want to fuse, maybe you have to eat shit. I go. What, don't you like this one? Shopkeeper Su asked from the side, observing his words. Hey, let's look at the other one, Xiaopingan said helplessly. There are things a man does and things he doesn't do. Forget about that world pearl. You can't learn Gojian's skills even if you know them. Okay, let's take a look at this world bead. Shopkeeper Su opened the second box with more careful movements and began to introduce. This world bead is a rare and special cave world bead. After the fusion is successful, you can use magic to dig holes directly underground, and the speed is as fast as lightning. This skill of digging holes is not usually useful, but it is hard to say when it will be useful. Xiaopingan looked at the boundary bead and saw only 3 words on it: Uncle Yinkeo. Just seeing these 3 words, Xiaopingan probably understood why this world bead can dig holes. In this world bead, there should be a story about Zheng Zhuanggong digging into the ground to meet his mother. It is Uncle Yinkeo. How much does this world pearl cost? Xiaopingan asked directly. Although this world bead is difficult to fuse, even if the fusion fails, the mortality rate is very, very low, and the magic it gives is very special, so the price of this world bead is not cheap. I received it for 2,150 gold coins. I'll earn you 50 gold coins, 2,200 gold coins. This price is not cheap. Shopkeeper Su smiled bitterly. The prices of G beads on the market have been going up these days, and there is nothing I can do about it. In the past, the purchase price of this G bead was only 1,780, but now it has increased a lot. Having said this, shopkeeper Su looked outside and lowered his voice a little. Didn't you hear that the magic door is about to open? That's why the world pearl has risen so much. The magic door is open. Xiaopingan was slightly startled. The so-called magic gates in this world are somewhat similar to space invasions on Earth, but they are not exactly the same. The so-called magic gates are the openings of secret realms in the void where a large number of monsters are hidden. When the magic door is wide open, the monsters in the void secret realm can run out, and the summoners and humans outside can also run into the void secret realm. But in general, it is not a good thing to have the magic door open. I just learned about this news from a bounty hunter who came to sell the world bead. Many people are spreading the news. 2,200 gold coins is 2,200 gold coins. I want this world bead, Xiaopingan said, sighing in his heart. This summoner really spends money like water. No matter how much money he has, it still feels like it is not enough. Do you want this world bead? Shopkeeper Su pointed at the world bead that suffers from hardships. I don't want this one. Xiaopingan shook his head. I think this world bead is very attractive. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 247. In the main hall, Uncle Zheng was sitting in the main seat. Although the aroma of the food served by the waiter was overflowing, and the ministers around him were drinking and drinking, Uncle Zheng was still depressed, his brows were furrowed, and he didn't seem to have much appetite. As soon as Xiaopinggan opened his eyes, what he saw was the scene in front of him. In such a scene, people who don't have a mind crystal and don't know this period of history probably don't know what to say, let alone why Uncle Zheng is so depressed. The title of Duke Zheng Zhuang was actually uncle, and the title was added after his death due to the collapse of rituals and music. Although Zheng Zhuanggong is famous in history and left many stories and is considered one of the celebrities in the spring and autumn period, every family has its own scriptures that are difficult to recite. Zheng Zhuanggong grew up in an environment that was extremely lacking in maternal love. In modern terms, Zheng Zhuanggong may be suffering from maternal love deficiency syndrome. From the analysis of psychological psychology, he will spend his whole life pursuing what he lacked in childhood. After becoming the lord of the Zheng kingdom, his biological mother was deceiving him and secretly united with his own brother to plot against him, hoping to overthrow him and take away everything he had. Such a family tragedy also happened to Zheng Zhuanggong. Why did Duke Zheng Zhuang lack maternal love and why his mother didn't like him? This question, if traced back, may be related to the fact that his mother Wu Zhang had trouble giving birth to him and may have had a difficult delivery. Duke Zheng Zhuang's name was Huan Sheng, and the character was inverse in the spring and autumn period. The word, this name means that he was not born smoothly. He did not come out head first, which almost killed his mother. Therefore, he was not liked by his mother when he was born, and even hated him. This also caused a series of events that followed. Matter. Xiaopingyan looked at Duke Zheng Zhuang with some sympathy and sighed in his heart. Just because Zheng Zhuang's posture was wrong when he was born, it caused a series of chain reactions in Zhengguo. If Wu Zhang had given birth to him naturally, Zheng Zhuanggong's head came out first, and many things that followed probably would not have happened. What was the cause of Zheng Zhuanggong's dystocia? God knows, maybe it was just that Wu Zhang took a nap in a wrong position when she was pregnant with him, or Wu Zhang ate fruit that Duke Zheng Zhuang didn't like, causing Duke Zheng Zhuang to turn over in her mother's womb. If you study history carefully, you can find the reasons behind many major events in history, which are very strange or even trivial. This is the butterfly effect. God used that invisible hand to gently fiddle with the posture of Zheng Zhuanggong in his mother's womb at some point. Later, what it brought about was war and power struggles that affected the entire Zheng state. Behind these men, few have it easy. However, compared to Go Jian who tasted feces, Zheng Zhuanggong's family ethics tragedy seems to be nothing. Zheng Zhuanggong, who was sitting on the main seat, felt Xiaopinggan's comments to him. He raised his wine glass towards Xiaopinggan, gave Xiaopinggan a forced smile and said, "This wine is a fine wine. It can only be found in Xinzhen. Uncle Cao give you when you come to Xinzhen, you can drink more of it." "Thank you, Your Majesty," Xiaopinggan said. At this moment, a maid brought over delicious roasted mutton. The whole hall was filled with the aroma of mutton. All the other ministers in the hall moved their index fingers in admiration of the delicious food. While everyone was eating mutton, only Xiaopinggan was not eating, but was eating something next to it. After a while, Duke Zheng Zhuang finally discovered that Xiaopinggan did not eat the mutton on the table, and couldn't help but ask, "Why doesn't Uncle Cao eat the mutton on the table? Does the mutton taste bad?" "Your Majesty, this mutton is so delicious that I can't bear to eat it. I want to stay and take this mutton home to give my mother a taste." "I ask your permission, please," Xiaopingyan said. "Bring it to, mother, mother." Zheng Zhuanggong murmured to himself, his lips trembling, wanting to ask something. In the blink of an eye, he almost shed tears, but in this hall, in full view of everyone, Zheng Zhuanggong was not easy to shed. Tears welled up just because of the wine. He turned his head and left the table first. As soon as Duke Zheng Zhuang left, the officials in the hall became even more noisy. Xiaopinggan just waited for a while and saw an eunuch beside Duke Zhengzhuang. He quietly walked to him, lowered his head and said something in Xiaopinggan's ear. "The king wants to see you, please come with me." Xiaopinggan left the banquet, followed the eunuchs beside Zheng Zhuanggong, left the main hall, and soon came to a garden of the palace. Duke Zhuang of Zheng was in a pavilion, standing in a daze, looking at the stars in the sky, his back lonely. The eunuch who brought Xiaopinggan here quickly left after delivering Xiaopinggan. There were only two people in the whole garden, Zheng Zhuanggong and Xiaopinggan. Duke Zheng Zhuang turned around, his eyes were a little red, and his voice was trembling a little. Is she okay?" After he Xiaozier was defeated, Duin, the younger brother of Duke Zhuang of Zheng, fled abroad and committed suicide. Wu Zhang was imprisoned by Duke Zhuang and exiled to Yingdi of Zheng state. Ying Shikao was the highest official of Yingdi, and it was Ying Shikao's responsibility to monitor Wu Zhang. 1. The Queen Mother misses the king every day and regrets very much what she did. The Queen Mother often tells people around her that they are all her flesh and blood, so why is she like this? Xiaopinggan said. Did she really say that? Zheng Zhuanggong grabbed Xiaopinggan's hand and was a little excited, and suddenly he burst into tears. Yes, the Queen Mother can't bear to leave the king. She often says that the joy of a family can be spoiled. Xiaopinggan took the opportunity to say, if the king wants to see the Queen Mother, I can arrange it for the king. There was a look of struggle and conflict on Zheng Zhuanggong's face, and he finally sighed, when the Queen Mother and her second brother rebelled, my heart was cut with a knife. I once talked to her about the underworld and never saw each other. This statement is known to the whole country, and I am so sad. How can the king of a country go back on his word and make people laugh at him? Xiaopinggan immediately said seriously, what's so difficult about this? The legendary Xuanhuan is underground and can be seen when digging. Please rest assured, Your Majesty, I will dig out the Xuanhuan even if I dig thousands of feet, so that the king and the Queen Mother can live by the Xuanhuan. When mother and son meet, they will not leave any grudge in the world, nor will they let the king be blamed. Duke Zhengzhuang suddenly became energetic. Xiaopinggan left Xinzhen that night, took a carriage, and hurried back to Yingdi. The next day, Xiaopinggan and his entourage went to the place where Wu Zhang was imprisoned to meet the Empress Dowager Zheng, who was imprisoned. At this time, Wu Zhang actually regretted it. Now she only had such a son. When she heard that Xiaopinggan told her the purpose of her visit and was willing to arrange a meeting between her and Duke Zhengzhuang to eliminate the conflict between their mother and son, Wu Zhang immediately agreed. If both of them agreed, the rest would be easy. Returning to the government office, Xiaopinggan immediately ordered the recruitment of civilian craftsmen. 3 days later, Xiaopinggan personally led hundreds of civilian craftsmen directly to Niubi Mountain in Yingdi. Niubi Mountain is actually not a mountain, but a low hill. Historically, Duke Zhuang of Zheng dug into the ground to meet his mother in Niubi Mountain. After Xiaopinggan asked several craftsmen who were good at digging wells to check the terrain, he chose a place and asked everyone to dig holes under the hills. Hundreds of people did this work, and within 3 days, they dug a large hole under the Niubi Mountain. They continued to dig in the hole and dug out underground water. After Xiaopinggan asked the craftsmen to arrange it, it was done. A month later, Duke Zhengzhuang came to Niubi Mountain and followed the hole dug by Xiaopinggan in Niubi Mountain to the underground. Once underground, Duke Zhengzhuang saw a ditch full of water underground. There was a stone tablet erected next to the ditch. The word Xuanhuan was written in the letter. The dark underground was filled with lanterns, which were bright. His mother Wu Zhang was standing by the ditch underground, looking at him with tears. Mother and son met underground, their true feelings revealed, and they cried together. After crying, Zheng Zhuanggong wiped his tears and left an idiom for future generations, in the big tunnel, the joy is also harmonious. Wu Zhang also wiped his tears and said, outside the big tunnel, the joy is also released. Then, mother and son walked out of the hole hand in hand. Xiaopinggan was standing outside the cave. Just as he was about to step forward to congratulate, Jizhu's world shattered. In the secret room, Xiaopinggan opened his eyes. This boundary bead that Zheng Zhuanggong dug into the ground to meet his mother added 36 points of divine power to Xiaopinggan's secret mandala. After fusing this boundary bead, the upper limit of the divine power of Xiaopinggan's secret mandala reached 2,618 points. The four-yang realm requires 3,780 points of divine power. From the three-yang realm onwards, the conditions for the summoner to advance become more and more difficult. This is more than 1,000 points of divine power from the four-yang realm. At least 30 or 40 world beads are needed, not to mention the chance of success in fusing these world beads, even if you buy the cheapest world bead, will probably cost tens of thousands of gold coins. More and more boundary beads will be needed later, and the funds consumed will become more and more terrifying. The elders of the Tang family seem to be the summoners of the four-yang realm. The entire Tang family occupies a city called Dawan, and there are only a handful of summoners in the four-yang realm that can be trained. Without strong resource support, the three-yang realm is already the pinnacle of a lifetime for many summoners. Xiaopinggan got out of bed and moved his body. He looked at the stone wall in the secret room. With a thought, a pen-shaped jade awl appeared in Xiaopinggan's hand. The jade awl moved in Xiaopinggan's hand. Dragon Snake, in the blink of an eye, wrote a small fist-sized word "dig" in the void and landed on the ground. A large hole about the diameter of a bucket and half a foot deep suddenly appeared on the stony ground. This is because Xiaopinggan controls his divine power. He only used 1 point of divine power to write a text with the character dig and tried it. If he had more divine power, Xiaopinggan was afraid that with one word, he would drill a well on the ground and flood the basement. Although the secret technique gained from this world bead cannot be used in direct combat, the skill of drilling holes can be of great use if used in the right place. Thinking of the price of Zheng Zhuanggong's world pearl, Xiaopinggan felt a little distressed. Without financial resources, it was too difficult to support such consumption. Xiaopinggan was not sure whether his gold coins could allow him to persist to the six-yang realm. The news that came hastily is that there is not a single guest who has made a reservation in Zhougong building today. There is no money at all, and there is no need to waste any more time. After coming out of the underground secret room, Xiaopinggan went to sleep and rested to recharge his batteries. Xiaopinggan didn't know how long he could live with such a peaceful sleep. The next day, it was still cloudy in Beijing, with a light drizzle. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 248. As the boss of the inspection office, Xiaopinggan came to the inspection office at any time he wanted. He avoided the morning rush hour in Beijing and arrived in a taxi around 10 o'clock in the morning. Arrived outside the inspectorate. It is an honor for me to serve you. After the honest-looking taxi driver opened the door for Xiaopinggan, he did not accept Xiaopinggan's money. Instead, he saluted Xiaopinggan and drove away in the carriage. Xiaopinggan was stunned for a while, then he smiled bitterly and collected the money again. The dealer is very capable. Xiaopinggan originally thought that he hailed this carriage casually on the road. It seems that the dealer arranged for it to be waiting for him on the street outside the alley. The gorgeous taxi yesterday, he did not. After saying goodbye, the dealer probably thought that he didn't like being too ostentatious, so he arranged a relatively ordinary-looking taxi for him today. This was also the dealer's intention. Xiaopinggan couldn't say anything. The entire city of Shangjing was shrouded in a steady drizzle, and the streets were foggy. The slightly cold air gave Xiaopinggan the idea of buying a carriage. In this city of Shangjing, it is not very convenient without a carriage. If you always take a taxi, your whereabouts will be exposed, and your privacy cannot be taken into account. But if you want to buy a carriage, hiring a driver is also a problem. If the driver is unreliable, it will cause more troubles. When he walked to the door of the inspectorate, Xiaoping sighed secretly and took his time. "Sir, you are here." Seeing Xiaoping entering the gate of the supervision office with an umbrella, Luo Laoyao ran out from the gatehouse with his dog, nodding and bowing to say hello to Xiaoping. Luo Laojiao's dog also wagged its tail crazily at Xiaoping, which was quite interesting. "Is Huaziken back?" Xiaoping asked in passing. "She's back. She came back before dawn today. Apart from the people on duty, she was the first to arrive at the inspection office." "Okay, got it." Xiaoping nodded and walked towards the building of the inspectorate. It seems that Huaziken was busy all night yesterday. Entering the inspection office staff and summoners who saw Xiaoping stood on one side of the aisle, made way for Xiaoping, and saluted Xiaoping. When she arrived outside her office, Wei Miu hurriedly greeted her and took Xiaoping's umbrella. Huaziken, who had been waiting outside the office, also stood up. "Sir, did you get the things?" Xiaoping asked directly. "We have already obtained it. Several of the women who were victims have moved. It took a while to find those people again." "Okay, thank you for your hard work. Let's go into the office and talk." Xiaoping opened the door of the office and walked in, followed by Huaziken. "Sir, this is the hair of those women." As soon as she entered the office, Huaziken opened a bag in her hand and put the locks of hair tied with ropes on Xiaoping's on the desk. It was 9 locks of hair cut with scissors, of varying lengths. The longest was more than 3 feet long, and the shortest was less than a foot long. Some of the hair still had the faint fragrance of a woman. Some victims did not report the crime because of fear and various reasons after being assaulted. In fact, we estimate that the number of victims is even greater, maybe dozens of people. That garbage really deserves to die. Huaziken said with some hatred. As a woman, she deeply hates that kind of man. "Well, don't worry, we'll find out soon if it's that guy who did it. That guy has never been convicted, and we can't find stronger evidence. We are also worried that we have arrested the wrong person. Is there anything you can do?" "Well, of course," Xiaoping said, and summoned the black dragon with a wave of his hand. "Summoning." Huaziken glanced at Xiaoping in confusion. Summoners who could summon dogs were not uncommon. The dogs summoned by most summoners were similar to ordinary dogs. She didn't know what the dog summoned by the inspector could do. "Black dragon, I'll leave it to you." Xiaoping touched the black dragon's head and pointed at the hair on the table. The black dragon shook its tail, jumped up to the table and sniffed among the hair. Once, then barked twice at Xiaoping, and jumped down from the table. "Let's go to the dungeon and have a look." Xiaoping said to Huaziken, opened the door, and took Heilong towards the dungeon of the inspectorate. Huaziken also followed Xiaoping. Past. After going down 2 floors, we finally arrived at the inner guard duty room outside the dungeon. When he saw Xiaoping appeared, Qi Daifeng quickly packed his clothes and came out to greet him. "Go to the interrogation room and bring the man in cell 11, Xiaoping said to Qi Daifeng. "Yes." Qi Daifeng glanced at Heilong who was following Xiaoping, then led Xiaoping and Huaziken toward the interrogation room, and arranged for his men to bring the people in cell 11. The interrogation room is a room less than 30 square meters. In the room, there is a metal chair fixed to the ground. Xiaoping and Huaziken had just sat down in the interrogation room when the summoner from cell 11 whom they had seen yesterday was brought. An internal guard opened the iron chair in the interrogation room, stuffed the guy into the chair and sat down, then locked the chair and then exited the interrogation room. Xiaoping and Huaziken were the only ones in the entire interrogation room. "Sir, I was wronged. I have said everything that needs to be said. I am really not the prisoner you are looking for. This is all a misunderstanding. That guy must have been interrogated more than once, and he started to cry out as soon as he sat down. Stand up." Whether you have committed a crime or not, we will know soon, Xiaopingan said, pointing at the person, and the black dragon who had been sitting obediently next to Xiaopingan rushed towards the person. Seeing the black dragon rushing over, the man screamed in fright, "Don't bite me, don't bite me." Naturally, the black dragon wouldn't bite him, but just walked around him twice and sniffed around him. Then the black dragon ran back to Xiaopingan's voice, barked at Xiaopingan several times, and even raised his head. 2 Pause. Xiaopingan gently touched Heilong's head and looked at the man coldly with squinted eyes. Looking at Xiaopingan's eyes, the man's eyes flickered and he felt weak. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and forced a smile. "Sir, I really didn't commit any crime. Can you let me go? I will give you one last chance. If you tell me who the other person who committed the crime with you is, I can spare your life and let you leave this interrogation room alive." Upon hearing Xiaopingan's words, the expressions of that man and Huaziken changed at the same time. The man looked obviously panicked, but in the end he forced a smile and said, "Sir, I was really wronged. I really don't know what you said." Xiaopingan said softly, "You were caught by us and have never confessed that person. First, you feel that we have no direct evidence to convict you, which makes you feel lucky. The second reason is that you feel that as long as you survive, at this level, as long as you wait for you to get out, that person will definitely give you a huge reward. It seems that that person still has some status, which allows you to protect you here at all costs. You also hope that that person can get you out from here again. Do you think what I said is right?" The man in the iron chair started to turn a little blue, but he still gritted his teeth and said, "Sir, I am really unjust. If you want to give in, you will probably get yourself into trouble." Xiaopingan shook his head. "It's a pity that you didn't seize the last opportunity I gave you." Xiaopingan pulled the rope bell next to him, and Qi Daifeng immediately opened the door and entered the interrogation room. Xiaopingan asked Qi Daifeng directly, "If you want to kill people in the dungeon, how do you usually do it?" Faced with such a problem, Qi Daifeng was shocked at first, but looking at Xiaopingan's eyes, he still honestly told the darkest hidden rules in the cell. Qi Daifeng did not dare to say that he did not know. If that was the case, then he just made the inspector look like a fool. There are several ways. One way is to lock the person who wants to kill him with other dangerous prisoners and hint to other prisoners to kill him. The other way is to add something to his food to make him sick and die. If there is no, the people in the background can also directly poison the prisoner, and then report the prisoner to be seriously ill, and use special procedures to quickly dispose of the body. It can be quickly cremated without an autopsy. The third is to let him commit suicide. The sheets in the cell can be hung, and there is water in the toilet. They can insert their heads and drown them, or they can hit the wall or cut their wrists. Go and prepare a report. The prisoner in cell 11 committed suicide today. He stuck his head in the toilet and drowned himself, Xiaopingan said to Qi Daifeng. As soon as he finished speaking, he reached out towards the prisoner on the iron chair. With a finger, a blue water ball appeared out of thin air and enveloped the prisoner's head. The prisoner in the iron chair had his head wrapped in a ball of water and couldn't breathe at all. He could only struggle in vain and couldn't scream. When he opened his mouth, he drank a lot of water, and he wanted to. He used his hands to grab the water ball surrounding his head, but because his hands were shackled and locked in the gap of the iron chair, he could not move at all. Crash, crash. The man struggled, the shackles on his hands and feet rubbed against the iron chair and the ground, and he was tossed around, but it had no effect, because no matter how he moved, the shackles surrounding his head were still there. The mass of water kept his head soaked in it, motionless. Huaziken and Qi Daifeng watched from the interrogation room, watching the prisoner's face getting paler and whiter in the water, his struggling strength getting weaker and weaker, and the metal shackles on his hands and feet gradually becoming silent. After 5 or 6 minutes, the man stopped moving, his body was limply locked on the chair, his head and hair were floating in the water, his face was pale, his eyes were closed tightly, and he was completely out of breath. That man's head was like a specimen soaked in formalin solution. Wow! The ball of water covering his head fell down and sprinkled on his body. Qi Daifeng suppressed the panic in his heart, walked forward, touched the artery and heartbeat of the man's neck, swallowed a mouthful of saliva and reported to Xiaopinggan, "Sir, the suspect in cell 11. Committed suicide, himself drown yourself." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 249. It keeps raining. Amidst the crisp sound of horse hooves, 3 black carriages drove out from the gate of the Adjudication Army's Eastport Inspection Office in the rain. 3 carriages shuttled through the streets of Donggang District. Half an hour later, the 3 carriages stopped on a street about 4,000 meters away from the Adjudication Army's Donggang Inspection Office. Nearby is the residential area of Donggang. On both sides of the street, there are buildings and many shops related to life. Seeing these 3 carriages parked directly in the non-parking area on the roadside, the 2 Donggang district police officers who were hiding from the rain in a nearby guard box looked at each other, put on their raincoats, cursed and walked towards the 3 carriages. The doors of the 2 carriages opened. The summoners from the Donggang Inspectorate Office, wearing all black waterproof windbreakers, black felt hats and iron gloves, quickly got out of the cars and scanned the surroundings with sharp eyes. One of the middle-aged policemen who was cursing and walking over saw the people wearing black waterproof windbreakers who got off the carriage. He rubbed his eyes again and finally saw the logo of the Adjudication Army on the carriage and the hands of the men in black in the rain and fog. He grabbed the policeman next to him, turned around and left. "Hey, Brother Lu, why don't you go over there and get some money?" another young policeman asked in a daze. "What the hell, that's the guy from the Adjudication Army's Donggang Inspection Office. It was raining heavily just now, so I couldn't see the sign on the car clearly. Why don't we go over there and look for it? Come on, don't look around." The middle-aged policeman scolded in a low voice. "One sentence. The inspection office of the Judgment Army." The expression of another policeman also changed, and he shrank his head in the cold wind, not daring to go any further. Not to mention that the carriage of the Judicial Army Inspection Office was only parked in the forbidden parking area on the roadside. Even if the Judicial Army Inspection Office rushed to the police station in a carriage, the chief of the Donggang Police Department could only come out to greet it with a smile. A summoner from the inspectorate came to the carriage with the door open, opened the door, and stood aside. The first person on the carriage was in his 30s, wearing a black waterproof windbreaker. His lean face was as hard as granite, without any expression, and his sharp eyes seemed to be like blades that could cut through the rain. They were extremely bright. This person is the captain of the second team of the Longchao Inspection Agency. After Longchao, Huazikan, who was wearing a waterproof windbreaker, also walked down. The last person to step off the carriage was Xiaopinggan. Xiaopinggan was also wearing a black waterproof windbreaker and a black felt hat, with an unusually cold temperament. As soon as Xiaopinggan's leather boots hit the ground, Black Dragon jumped down from the carriage. Xiaopinggan was in the rain, looking at the surrounding residential areas. "Sir, we caught that QJ criminal in this alley." Long Chao pointed to an alley shrouded in drizzle next to the carriage. Pa Xiaopinggan nodded, flicked his fingers, and the Black Dragon ran towards the alley. "Let's go," Xiaopinggan said. Without any extra words, he followed the Black Dragon directly. Long Chao, Huazikan, and the other 8 members of Team 2 and Team 3 of the Donggang Supervision Bureau under them also followed Xiaopinggan into the alley. This is a very formal mission. Xiaopinggan personally led 2 teams from the supervision office to arrest people. He must catch the trash who is still at large. According to the information provided by Black Dragon, there was another person who violated those women. Except for Xiaopingan and the two team captains, the other team members are fully armed. Under the black waterproof windbreaker, each team member carries a gun and other equipment. For members of the Judgment Army, the iron gloves are iconic equipment. The iron gloves of the Judgment Army are the summoner's magic weapon. In addition to being able to deal with the swords, guns, and arrows of warriors in close combat, they can also isolate toxins. The inlaid spell crystal can also store up to 200 divine power points for spells, which can be quickly released when needed. The Black Dragon's ability is not only to smell, but also to smell and track the breath of souls. The Black Dragon entered the alley and turned around in the alley, then ran directly towards the exit on the other side of the alley. In the drizzle, Xiaopingan and 10 people followed behind the Black Dragon. He long walked through the alley and came to another changed street. He passed through a residential area and entered a 6-story apartment. After coming out of the apartment, he long barked at Xiaopingan who was waiting downstairs in the apartment. After barking several times, like a hound that has locked onto its prey, it started running towards the street outside the apartment building. The Black Dragon has found another person. That person is also a summoner, and he is a summoner in the Air-Yang realm. He is not very old, between 20 and 25 years old. As the saying goes, rabbits don't eat grass beside their nests. That person he doesn't live in Donggang district, but in other districts of Shangjing City. After the second team arrested someone here, they scared him away. Xiaopingan said to Long Chao and Huazikan. The case occurred in Donggang district. Now that we have found clues, we can enforce the law across districts and find that garbage, Long Chao said coldly. It doesn't matter how many Yang realms he has, trash like that deserves to die. Huazikan also said. Long Chao and Huazikan did have some doubts about Black Dragon's ability before, but as soon as Xiaopingan revealed that the man was a summoner from the Air-Yang realm, and even his approximate age, they no longer had any doubts. It was drizzling as they went up to the capital. Black Dragon led the way, while Xiaopingan and other 11 people were following behind Black Dragon. This combination would have definitely attracted attention in normal times, but it was raining today and there were not many people on the street, so along the way not many people met Xiaopingan and the others. Occasionally, they met Xiaopingan and the others. Seeing their aura, they could only avoid them and did not dare to ask any more questions. Moreover, the roads the Black Dragon took were sparsely populated roads and alleys, a bit like that person's escape route, so he would encounter fewer people. The Black Dragon passed through Poseidon Avenue in Donggang, heading west. After leaving Donggang's jurisdiction, it headed north again, shuttling through the streets and alleys. The felt hat on Xiaopingan's head was soaked through, and raindrops fell from his chin. The same was true for the others, but no one said a word, and everyone followed the team closely. More than 2 hours later, he long led everyone to a residential area lined with mansions and compounds. Here, it is no longer the Donggang district of Shangjing City, but the Jinyang district of Shangjing City. Who are you and what do you do? After arriving here, Xiaopingan and the others met the police again and were blocked by the police patrolling this luxury area. In luxury areas like Shangjing City, the reason why public security is good is because there are many police patrols, and cats and dogs dare not wander around in these places. The inspection office is handling the case. Unrelated persons should get out of the way. Long Chao showed his identity card. When the police blocking the road saw it, they didn't dare to say a word and quickly backed away. But as soon as the 2 policemen retreated to the side of the road, Huazikan pointed at the 2 policemen, and the 2 policemen's bodies stiffened and they stood on the ground unable to move at all. We are handling the case across districts. These 2 policemen don't know us. They will definitely report it and may alert the target. If someone from the Jinyang District Supervision Office comes to inquire, there may be some trouble. We have to come over to investigate the case. If so, we should notify the supervision office here first, Huaziken explained. Well, that's right. You've been very thoughtful. We'll notify you after we take the person. Xiaopingan nodded and continued to follow the black dragon. A few minutes later, He Long took Xiaopingan and the others to the back of a mansion compound. He Long sniffed under the outer wall of the compound, wandered around twice, and then barked at Xiaopingan. That person is here, and he is still inside. We came just in time. Xiaopingan wiped the rain from his face and squinted at the compound in front of him. The courtyard wall of this courtyard looks just over 4 meters high from the outside, and the wall immediately behind it is more than 100 meters long. There are beautiful and exquisite blue glazed tiles on the courtyard wall, and large trees shade the courtyard. It was revealed that behind the courtyard wall, there was a secret passage sealed by an iron gate that connected to the river outside. There was an aura of wealth and wealth everywhere. In Shangjing City, those who live in such large courtyards are not ordinary people, either rich or noble. This compound doesn't have millions of gold coins, so I'm afraid it won't be possible, let alone in an area like this. If Xiaopingan were to spend millions of gold coins to buy a yard now, he would be reluctant to part with it even if he had money. I didn't expect to come here to arrest people. The others who followed Xiaopingan here were a little hesitant. The rich and noble people in the capital are usually connected together. The people living here are by no means ordinary people. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 250. Looking at the high wall in front of him, Long Chao's resolute eyebrows frowned slightly. He walked up to Xiaopingan and said in a deep voice, "Sir, I'm afraid the family living here is not ordinary people. If we go in and search rashly, we can't do anything, it's going to cause some trouble. How about I ask someone to find out the details of the people living here, and then decide on a plan of action?" What Long Chao said was the safest way. Even the hot-tempered Huaziken did not say a word. Huaziken was not brainless. She also knew that this was not an ordinary place in Shangjing. Although the Donggang Inspection Office was a powerful organization, the most indispensable thing in the capital city is strong institutions. Some people have very good hands and eyes. If they rush in rashly, no one will be aware of it. Everyone's eyes were on Xiaopingan's face. The drizzle and wind also blew on Xiaopingan's face. Xiaopingan's eyelashes were covered with crystal raindrops. He glanced at everyone. "I know what everyone is worried about, but we have chased here and have determined that the garbage is inside. Only by going in can we determine who the person is and bring the garbage to justice. If we do this, if we waste time, the garbage will be alerted and find a way to escape, or leave Shangjing City directly. How can we find it? With that rubbish style, I don't know how many innocent women will be victimized in the future. In Shangjing City, except for the Imperial City, we cannot search and enter at will. In other places, even government agencies at all levels and their responsibilities, inspectors can we enter the search openly and honestly. No matter who that person is today, I must arrest that person and bring him back to the inspection office. I will bear all the responsibilities. If there are any problems, I will take care of them. If you are worried, you don't have to come." After saying this, Xiaopingan walked directly towards the alley next to him, his figure submerged in the drizzle. The alley leads to the front door of the compound. When searching and arresting people, it is natural to go through the front door openly and enter through the front door. You cannot sneak over the wall. Anyone who climbs over the wall is a thief. The black dragon shook its tail and followed Xiaopingan. Long Chao and Huaziken glanced at each other. Long Chao gritted his teeth and followed directly. Huaziken also followed. The other members of the inspection department, after 2 seconds of silence, also followed without hesitation. "Go up." 10 people and a dog had already formed a silent group when they walked through the alley and walked out of the alley. They followed Xiaopinggan, who was walking in front, and walked towards the main entrance of the yard. The main entrance of the courtyard is a vermilion gatehouse. On the gatehouse, there is a large plaque with gold characters on a black background, with two aggressive characters Huang Mansion on it. On both sides of the gatehouse, there were two lions carved from white jade. The rain from the sky washed the jade lions clean and spotless. Several guards wearing waterproof soap coats were standing on both sides of the gatehouse, with their chests raised and their bellies folded, looking at the passers-by on the street. Then, the head guard guarding the door saw a young man wearing a waterproof windbreaker and a felt hat, leading a big black dog. Behind the big black dog, there were 10 men in black, coming from the alley next to him. After walking out of the house, he walked straight to the gate of Huang Mansion. The guard leader had also seen the world. When he saw that some of the men in black following the young man were wearing iron gloves, his brows jumped and he guessed the identities of these people. But, what are the people from the inspection office of the Judgment Army doing here? Just when the head guard thought these people were passing by, the young man's leather boots had already stepped on the doorstep of Wang's mansion and walked straight to the door. The guard leader was about to ask. I am Xiaopinggan, the inspector of the Donggang Inspection Office. The Donggang Inspection Office is handling the case and has tracked the criminal here. There are criminals hiding in the house. We have to go in and search and open the door. Xiaopinggan took out his inspector's tool. The token flashed in front of the guard's eyes and he said calmly. The guards guarding the gate looked at each other, thinking that they heard wrongly. Then, the guards guarding the door burst out laughing, thinking they heard a joke. The head guard winked at the guard next to him, and the guard immediately ran from the side door to the mansion, probably to go in and report. The guard leader glanced at Xiaopinggan, and he and several guards held their arms and stood in front of Xiaopinggan, preventing Xiaopinggan from entering. Did Inspector Xia make a mistake? Did you see the two words above the gate? This is the Huang Mansion. Don't you know where the Huang Mansion is? This is Mr. Huang Zhenghuang, the governor of Anxi province. In the mansion in Shangjing City, haven't you heard the name of Mr. Huang Zheng? Not everyone can enter here casually, the guard spoke to Xiaopinggan arrogantly, pointing directly with one finger poking Xiaopinggan's chest. If the Donggang Inspectorate wants to track down any prisoner, you can hand over the note first, and then I will pass the note to our housekeeper. If there are any suspects in the house, our housekeeper will naturally report back to the Jinyang Inspectorate. In a word, Inspector Xia can go to the Jinyang Inspection Office to inquire. Inspector Xia brought these people to our Huang Mansion so rashly. If word spread, it would be detrimental to the reputation of our Huang Mansion. If any gossip spreads, it will affect the reputation of Huang Mansion. The reputation of our Huang Mansion has been damaged. You are a small inspector with dozens of people under your command. Can you afford it? When the time comes, our Huang Mansion will have to ask you for an explanation. When the guard leader said the words, Anxi Province Governor Huang Zheng, Long Chao and Huazikan's brows jumped and their eyes suddenly shrank. And the head guard called Xiaopinggan by his surname and official position without even using the word sir. He seemed to be on an equal footing with Xiaopinggan. He even poked Xiaopinggan's chest with his finger. His face was completely different from that of the Donggang Inspection Office. Take it seriously. Xiaopinggan smiled, lowered his head, glanced at the finger that poked his chest, and murmured to himself, it turns out to be the governor of Anxi province, no wonder. Hurry up, don't come here to bring trouble. Really, if our Lord Huang is not in the capital, no one from the Huang family will dare to come. The guard leader said impatiently. A slave from a wealthy family has the guts to criticize the inspection office's handling of the case. It seems that your Huang family is really spoiled. Xiaopinggan shook his head slightly, sighed, and turned to look at Long Chao and Huazikan behind him. This Jinyang supervisory office doesn't know what it usually does. It really embarrasses us. The guard leader's eyes froze, What did you say? 2 seconds later. There was a loud bang. The entire door of the Huang mansion was directly smashed open by the soap-clothed guard at the entrance of the Huang mansion. The head guard directly knocked out a large, broken, human-shaped hole in the vermilion door of the Huang mansion covered with brass door nails. Blood spurted out, and the bones were broken. The tendons were broken. The hand that had just poked Xiaoping's chest was broken at the wrist. It was twisted strangely. His whole body was smashed in from the door like a cannonball. After landing, he rolled several times on the ground and vomited several times. His mouth was bleeding, his eyes were open, and he fainted immediately. Xiaoping and his men walked in calmly from outside the door, directly stepping over the fainted figures who had fallen on the ground. Huazikan, take your people and stay outside the Huang mansion. No bird is allowed to fly out of the Huang mansion without my order, Xiaoping ordered coldly. Yes, Huazikan gritted her teeth and accepted the order. Before today, Huazikan thought that she was the most violent in the entire Donggang inspection office, and that Fang Nu, the captain of Team 4, was the boldest in the entire Donggang inspection office. But now, Huazikan understood that she and Fang Nu it doesn't matter, the person in front of me is as bold as a raging dragon. Behind the gate, there is a 9-color unicorn screen wall of the Huang mansion that is more than 10 meters long. It is dazzling and magnificent. On both sides of the unicorn screen wall, pomegranate trees are planted, symbolizing the number of children and grandchildren in the Huang mansion. The rain has washed the leaves of the pomegranate trees. It's so green. Black Dragon had no stage fright, and took the lead, running directly behind the screen wall. Xiaoping, Long Chao and others followed Black Dragon directly and broke into the Huang mansion. Just as Xiaoping led Long Chao and others out from behind the screen wall and arrived at the front yard of the Huang mansion, he saw a group of guards rushing out. The noise of Huang mansion's door being shattered was so loud that it had already alerted the other guards of Huang mansion. Who? Naturally, there were a lot of summoners missing among the guards of the Huang mansion. Xiaoping had just turned around when he heard a loud shout, and then 6 blazing fireballs the size of basins were directed at him and Long Chao behind him. The others flew over and enveloped Xiaoping, Long Chao and others.